Now, it's no secret that Marvel has become one of the biggest movie studios of all time. I mean, hell, they have 4 movies in the top 10 highest grossing movies in the world. With 30 movies and 8 TV shows under their belt, that makes Marvel one of the fastest growing and longest film series of all time. And back in 2019, we saw the epic conclusion with Avengers Endgame. All eyes were on Marvel after Endgame to see what they would do next. Having just finished up the Infinity Saga, what was next? Were they going to keep moving forward as usual, or take a step back and make Phase 4 like another Phase 1, with setting up new characters to replace the old? Oh. Well, maybe it won't be too bad, right?
No, 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 no.
Oh. Oh no. Over the last 4 years, Marvel Studios' Phase 4 has had a notable problem with the quality of their VFX work. I intend to argue that this problem stems from large amounts of projects, impossible deadlines, and overworked VFX artists. Firstly, what do I mean by VFX? Well, in short, VFX stands for visual effects. It can also be seen as FX. Now, there are 3 different kinds of VFX: CGI, compositing, and motion capture. Marvel utilizes all 3 of these, but the main one I want to focus on is CGI, or computer generated imagery. The MCU heavily relies on this form of visual effects, giving us characters like Hulk, Thanos, any of Stark's Iron Man suits, and of course all of the locations that can't be shot on Earth. Or ones that can't be done practically, that is. For a while, the MCU mastered this. Most of their movies looked phenomenal, but in recent years, that quality has taken a nosedive. But why? How has the massive Disney Marvel juggernaut gone from this to this? Well, one problem spot to look at is Marvel's release schedule. Marvel Phase 4 started back at the beginning of 2021 with the release of WandaVision, and just recently came to a close with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. That's 18 projects in the span of close to 2 years. Let's put that into perspective. Phases 2 and 3 had 17 projects combined. Seems reasonable and in line with Phase 4, right? Wrong. Phases 2 and 3 spanned 6 years, giving us an average of 2 movies a year, with it picking up near the end of Phase 3, giving us 3 movies a year. And that was without shows. Yes, I'm aware the Netflix series exist, but for the sake of this argument, we're not going to make those canon. The average number of projects Phase 4 has released a year is 9. 9! That's outrageous! That averages out to a new product every month and a half. That is not nearly enough time to work on all of these movies and shows. And what's worse is in the next 3 years, Phases 5 and 6 plan to have 20 plus movies and shows. Marvel doesn't plan to put on the brakes anytime soon, and at this rate, it's not going to end the way they think. Imagine the poor VFX workers who have to deal with this amount of projects in such a short amount of time. In fact, some of these artists have come to express how horrible Marvel is to work with. One artist, Drew Goval, opened up about his experience on Twitter. Working on Marvel shows is what pushed me to leave the VFX industry. They're a horrible client. I've seen way too many colleagues break down after being overworked while Marvel tightens the purse strings. So just because a lot of folks have mentioned it, this has been the cause since the earliest days of the MCU. It didn't start recently, and it's not because of Chapek. The issue is Marvel is too big and can demand whatever they want. It's a toxic relationship. On the VFX subreddit, many users have come out expressing their problems with Marvel. One Reddit user put it, "Marvel has probably the worst methodology of production and VFX management out there. They can never fix the look for the show before more than half the allocated time for the show is over. The artists working on Marvel shows are definitely not paid equivalent to the amount of work they put in. The charm of working on a Marvel movie is way overrated now, and I would rather be happy working on a TV series after decades and decades of this." The amount of work and stress Marvel has put on the VFX industry has caused many workers to find new VFX houses that don't work with Marvel, or simply just leave the industry altogether. So what does working for Marvel actually look like if it's causing thousands of workers to break down and quit? Well, part of the problem is competition. Big studios, such as Marvel, look for the cheapest option. Many VFX houses cut down their bids, it barely makes a profit, let alone break even. I've seen the books. Despite working on a major motion picture, the profit margins for these VFX houses are in the single digits. Another problem is a lack of communication. There is such a big separation with the VFX artists and the studio that it doesn't allow for optimum work relationships. It got so bad that VFX artists didn't know Avengers Endgame got pushed forward by a month, giving them less time than they already had before. And VFX houses often have to make significant changes on such a short notice, meaning they have to make numerous versions of the same shot that will ultimately never get used, whilst also having no funding to hire more staff. You've probably noticed by now that I've been using the shots from the MCU that, well, in my opinion, look very good. And I've done that for a reason. These shots are a reminder that the MCU used to look fantastic throughout all of their projects. Now, that's not to say that phases 1 through 3 didn't have their fair share of issues, and believe me, they did. But it was so few and far between. Now it has just become the norm to point at Marvel projects and say how bad it looks. But we don't really consider the horrid work conditions behind the scenes. But there could be a little bit of hope. Back in October, it was announced that several movies in phases 5 and 6 were being put on hold. The reasons for this is not clear, but I like to believe that it's to give the VFX artists more time. The best way I can think to sum up everything is this. Kevin Feige is like a kid who just got $100 from his grandma for his birthday and wants to spend it as fast as he can. With Marvel getting the rights back to so many of their characters in recent years, they want to get them on the big screen as fast as possible. And that's really good energy to have, but they need to slow it down. Sure, I'd love to see these characters come to the MCU, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, all of them. But it shouldn't come at the cost of quality. Even if I have to wait another 5 years for a new Avengers film, I'm all for it if it means Marvel decides to space out their content to give the VFX artists just a little more time.